Good morning, everyone. I'm Ankit, and you're watching StudyIQ IAS English. This is Indian Express analysis of 12th of September. Let us start our today's discussion by discussing important news and articles from the Indian Express newspaper. The first article that we are going to cover is an article just because it has been covered in the newspaper because of the Union Home Minister. Now, Union Home Minister yesterday inaugurated the Fast Track Immigration Trusted Traveller Program, FTI TTP program, which is a program of fast tracking the immigration process in the country's airports. Now, this immigration process, it is an e-governance project, so therefore the relevant portion here is the GS paper 2 perspective. It basically, with the use of technology, wants to streamline the process of immigration. How many of you have visited a country other than India? Let me know in the answer section. How many of you have visited a foreign country? Have you gone through the process of immigration? Please let me know. In the second article, we are going to understand the Samudra Pradakshina expedition conducted by the members of the Indian Armed Forces, particularly the women officers. Why this is significant? Particularly because of the areas they are going to visit in their global circumvention of the globe. So we are going to understand where this expedition is happening, why it is happening, and what is the significance of this expedition, right? Now, this is relevant from GS paper 1 perspective, which deals with geography, because we are going to cover very important locations that will be covered by women officers in this particular expedition. Now, in the third article, we are going to understand, is there a sign of life on Mars? Now, a rover of NASA known as Perseverance is currently on its visit to Mars. So, in that process, the rover actually analyzes the rock samples from Mars to identify whether there existed a life on the floor of Mars at any given time. So we are going to understand what gave NASA the idea that there might be a life on Mars. Is it actually true, or there must be something which we are not understanding? We are going to understand everything in our today's discussion. This again is relevant from science and tech perspective. So the relevant paper for the article 3 would be the GS paper 3. In the fourth article, we are going to understand why is there a need for regulating social media. Now, social media played a very important role, be it in uprising of Sri Lanka, be it in Bangladesh, and now in Nepal. And this brings you an idea that social media is a tool of greater good, but at the same time, it also needs to be regulated. What if someone spreads misinformation, someone spreads fake news, and because of that fake news and misinformation, there might be a social upheaval in the country, right? So to do that, we need to regulate social media, and also because of our constitution says so. If you remember Article 19 subsection 1, it provides you the right to freedom of speech and expression, but that is not an absolute right. That is a qualified right. That government is well within its power to impose reasonable restrictions on your exercise of right to freedom of speech and expression. So in that regard, we are going to understand how can government regulate social media. Particularly, we'll look at the recommendations given by a parliamentary standing committee on IT and electronics. So this was fourth article, which is again relevant from GS paper 3 economy and also from governance point of view, that is GS paper 2. In the fifth article, we are going to understand buyback of shares by companies, and we are undertaking this article because Infosys, one of India's largest IT company, the second largest particularly, has decided to buy back shares worth 18,000 crore rupees from the market. So why does company buy back its own shares? What are its significance, and why is Infosys doing so? We are going to understand this in our today's discussion, and this is relevant from financial market perspective, which is important from economy. In the last article, we are going to cover Swami Vivekananda and his speech that was given in the Chicago in US in 1893, and how is it significant for promotion of Hinduism abroad. So that is an article we are going to cover if the time allows. If the time does not allow, you know the drill. I will record this video separately and get it uploaded today itself so that you don't miss out on this. And this is a last article is from an article in the explain section. You know the drill. The notes will be available on this particular Telegram channel known as ATS Live. So you can go to this Telegram channel, download the notes, and also the ones who haven't subscribed it, please also subscribe to the channel. Good morning, Yashi, Augustine, Gagan, Benzir and Mahamim. आज एक साथ देख रहे हो. Good. Kanchan, Yashi, Rishi, Jui. Good morning, all of you. How is everyone doing? Gagan, long time. Kanchan, also long time. How are you doing, Kanchan? Boylan Baite, good morning. If I am pronouncing your name right, is it? Very high number of students who have joined the session. Bishwabrat, good morning, long time. Rishi, how are things in Republic of Kanpur? What is Kanpur famous for? Anyone? Kanpur is actually notorious for one thing. I hope you're alright right now, Kanchan. And if you're not, I wish you get alright as soon as possible. Now let us start with this article. This article appeared in the Indian Express. You can see Home Minister through video conference inaugurating something. What is this something? This something is called as Fast Track Immigration Trusted Traveller Program, FTI TTP, and this facility has been opened in the airports of Lucknow, Thiruvananthapuram, Trichy, Kozhikode and Amritsar airports, and it offers seamless immigration experience for the travellers. Where it has been made live, no need to remember. What you need to remember, what is this particular thing? This process is now operational at some total of 13 airports simultaneously in the country. In the month of January or February, I think, major airports in the metro cities, they got this facility. Now the airports in the tier 2 cities and the state capitals have gotten this also. Now what is FTI TTP? It is a facility that wants to streamline the process of international mobility with faster, smoother and more secure immigration clearances for passengers who are arriving from other countries in India across 21 major airports in the country. So this is a project that will be ultimately implemented in 21 major airports of the country. Now whenever you are traveling to another country, before entering the country through ports or through airports, you have to go through a process known as immigration. And in that immigration, the country actually verifies your visa, sees your passport, and then only after the verification of immigration, you can formally enter that country. Otherwise, you will be extradited and sent back to your host country. So this process is known as immigration, and it is very important for security wise also, that you need to know which all people are coming to your country and you have to verify their credentials. But if you take too long in verification, you need to understand the lines in the airports in the immigration queue are very high. It is not so high in India. India has a streamlined process even before the introduction of this, but when you go to a foreign country, particularly in Europe and US, there the process of immigration is very cumbersome. They are like, we are doing you a favor if we are letting you enter in the country. Well, please, we are providing you so much money. You should allow us to enter our country, and we are not Pakistan after all, right? So in its initial phase, it was for Indian nationals and OCI card holders. So whenever these Indian nationals and OCI card holders, whenever they are coming back to India, they will witness a streamlined immigration process. But in the next phase, it will also be implemented for foreign nationals. And who is implementing this? There is a separate department in the Home Ministry known as Bureau of Immigration. In Bureau of Immigration, major of the officers who are posted are from IB, Intelligence Bureau. Okay. So this falls under Ministry of Home Affairs, and it is a nodal agency for program implementation, right? Which is the program we are talking about, FTI TTP. Now, what happens in this FTI TTP? You need to understand this. Now, to enroll in this program, an applicant, like people like you and I, will have to register online by filling our details and uploading the required documents, be it the visa documents or our passport. Now, after necessary verification done by the Home Ministry, they create a white list of trusted travelers. And this white list of trusted travelers are the people who are traveling frequently and without any criminal records. So these people will be allowed automatically by the system. So this is the process of creation of whitelist, and this will be fed for implementation through e-gate. So how many of you have used DigiYatra in the airports? Has any one of you used DigiYatra? Good morning, Reshma. Has any one of you visited a foreign country? If you have, please let me know how was your experience of immigration. In developed countries, it's very bad. There is long queues. It takes 2 to 3 hours for you to clear immigration. In India, it roughly takes 40-45 minutes. Now, biometrics of the trusted traveler who are passing through the e-gates will be captured at the foreign registration office at the first time the passenger is coming to India. So, the first time a passenger is entering into India, they'll have to provide their biometric details, and the subsequent times that they will come, they will just scan their biometric details and it is already fed in the system. So, the gates would open just because they are mentioned in the white list of trusted travelers. Now, the TTP registration, once done, will be valid for the part for the duration of your passport or for 5 years, whichever is earlier. And as soon as your validity ends, you can register it again. Under the process, as soon as the registered passenger reaches the e-gate of the airport, they will have to scan their boarding pass and passport and authenticate their biometrics. After such successful authentication, the e-gate will open automatically and the immigration clearance will be deemed to have been given to these people. So they don't have to stand in queue. Just like the toll plaza, the government is using technology to streamline the experience, to quicken the process of immigration, right? Rishi, you're not telling Kanpur is also famous for one thing, gutka. Good morning, Kharbudon, long time. Now, what are the benefits of FTI TTP? First of all, for passengers, it reduces your wait time, it streamlines the process of immigration, and for government, for the Bureau of Immigration, it is providing you an efficient workflow so that you're verifying the trusted travelers, but at the same time, you're not verifying the non-recognized travelers. So, non-recognized travelers, they'll have to go through the usual process, whereas the trusted traveler, they'll form a fast track approval process. Similarly, it also provides Bureau of Immigration with less workload, right? And also it is more convenient, where you use the technology to improve the travel experiences, and it can also be scalable. It can be implemented in our ports. It can be also be implemented in smaller airports, whosoever is witnessing the international traffic. So these are the benefits of FTI TTP. Now tell me the answer to this practice question. Okay, Kanchan. So Rishi now agrees Kanpur is also famous for gutka. You know, most of the gutka that is sold in the northern India and responsible for dirtying our public places is being made by companies who are located in Kanpur. There was also this very famous instance where a test match was happening in Kanpur and there was a fan sitting who was chewing tobacco or gutka, I am assuming. What is the correct answer to this question? Quickly. Only Gaurav has answered, Benzir and Hamim has answered. ये दोनों का आंसर है कि किसी का आंसर है? Well, first of all, what you need to remember, you have to identify incorrect statement. It is an initiative of Ministry of External Affairs, incorrect. It is an initiative of Ministry of Home Affairs. Why? Because Home Minister was inaugurating it. Otherwise, it would have been External Minister, right? So this is how you can use common sense. The program aims to provide expedited immigration clearances for pre-verified Indian passport holders at select international airports, correct? Only Indian passport holders are eligible to enroll under this program. No, even currently, even the OCI citizens, the overseas citizens of India, they are also eligible. And you need to understand, OCI are not Indian citizens. They are foreign passport holders but are of Indian origin. That is why we provide them with OCI card. So therefore, first and third statement is incorrect. We have to identify incorrect statement. All of you are right. C option is right. Okay, Thaggu ke laddu. I don't know what is Thaggu ke laddu. Now let us move to this next article. This article talks about Indian Armed Forces all-women team to circumnavigate the globe, right? This is important from geographical perspective. Now in India, the defense minister officially is called as Raksha Mantri, not defense minister. Please remember that. So whenever in your interview you go, you refer to him as Raksha Mantri or RM. Right, Raksha Mantri, Mr. Rajnath Singh virtually flagged off a historic tri-service all-women circumnavigation sailing expedition known as Samudra Pradakshina, which is the first ever in the world, and it started from Gateway of India in Mumbai. How many of you have visited Gateway of India of Mumbai? And how many of you have visited Elephanta Cave? Please let me know. Very beautiful place. Now, the vessel on which these women officers are going to circumnavigate the globe is known as IASV Triveni, which is an indigenously built 50-foot yacht of the biggest category of yacht, and it was built in Puducherry. Now, this is very significant. First of all, who are all the participants? All women officers of the Indian Armed Forces, and they are boarding which vessel? Which has been made in India. So, this shows Mahila Shakti, women empowerment, and this also shows Atmanirbharta, also shows made in India or make in India, right? So this is the importance and why I took this article. Now they are going to circumnavigate the globe for some total of 9 months. They started in September and this would end next year in summer in May. Now the route that they will take is more than 26,000 nautical miles and they are going to move east. So from India, they are going to move east and circumnavigate the globe and come back again to India. Now the geographical milestones that they are going to cover, they are going to cross the equator twice, because this is the definition, because if you have to circumnavigate the globe, you at least should cross equator twice. Similarly, they will also move through 3 great capes of the world: Cape Leuven, Cape Horn and Cape of Good Hope. I don't think so I should expand. Where is Cape of Good Hope? Where is Cape of Good Hope? Anyone? They will also navigate Southern Ocean, Drake Passage, which is a dangerous water body. Where is Cape of Good Hope? First of all, let me know. I want more participation from you guys. Only Rishi, Jui, etc. are answering. Where are others? South Africa, right? Cape Town. Have you heard Indian matches being played in Cape Town? Yes, southern tip of Africa. Yes. Where is Cape Leuven and Cape Horn? Any idea? Yes, all of you are right about Cape of Good Hope. Where is Cape Leuven and Cape Horn? सोमाली में कहां से होगा? How would there be a cape in Somali? Which one? Australia, Gagan? Well, let's see the important capes. Cape Horn is here in the southern tip of South America. Cape of Good Hope is here in the southern tip of Africa. Cape Agulhas is also here. Similarly, Cape Leuven is in the southwestern tip of Australia, and Cape Horn is here. So these are the 3 capes through which Indian expedition would travel. Now another part is Cape Horn, and this body between the northern tip of Antarctica and the southern tip of South Africa is known as Drake's Passage. This is known as Drake's Passage. Okay. Now they will also make stops at certain ports, and these ports are in Australia: Fremantle, Lyttelton in New Zealand, Port Stanley in Falkland Island. Anyone, have you heard Falkland Island ever? What is the history behind Falkland Island? Where is Falkland Island located? And Cape Town, that is South Africa. So they will stop in these 4 important ports. Any idea why am I emphasizing on Falkland Island? Well, the relations between UK and Argentina is not at all good. Why? Because they were fighting over an island known as Falkland Island. Falkland Island is very near to the coast of Argentina, but it is controlled by United Kingdom, and they fought a war in 1980s where Margaret Thatcher was the Prime Minister of UK. So because of Falkland War, the relations between UK and Argentina is not at all good. So you can imagine whenever Argentina and UK plays a football match, how tense it can be. Much similar to how India and Pakistan is. Now, similarly, the compliances is very necessary. I told you there are strict norms on what constitutes a circumnavigation, and this norms has been laid down by World Sailing Speeds Record Council. It states that any circumnavigation must cross all longitudes. They must cross equator twice and cover at least 21,600 nautical miles under sail. Under sail means their boat and yacht cannot be powered and they cannot move through canals, right? So they can't move through Suez Canal, Panama Canal, etc. And they have to be moving just by using of sails, not through any power. Okay. So this is the definition of circumnavigation. That is why they are going to cross the equator twice. Now, why is this kind of a mission very important? First of all, this mission is collaborating with National Institution of Oceanography, and the officers on board of the INS Triveni, they will study microplastics, they will document the biodiversity of the ocean, and they will generate awareness on marine health. Similarly, the port of calls, they act also as an avenue of defense diplomacy. Now, there are very different avenues of diplomacy. The primary diplomacy is between the diplomats of the country, like the IFS officers. But in our embassies abroad, and similarly of other countries' embassies in India, there are also posted as defense attaches. And the responsibility of defense attaches is to create good relations with the armed forces of another country. So imagine women officers of Indian armed forces, they are visiting another country. It gives a very good impression that how inclusive, how empowering women in India is, right? So this is the importance of these kind of events, and this described as both as a vessel of endurance as a vessel of diplomacy. So this is not just a military expedition, this is more of a diplomatic and a geographical expedition. Okay. Now, there is a background and legacy of Indian expeditions or Indian armed forces personnel conducting global circumnavigation. Globally, it started with Sir Robert Knox Johnston of US. Indian pioneers have been Captain Dilip Donde and Commander Abhilash Tomi. You remember the accident Abhilash Tomi had in his second attempt, where he was rescued very urgently just because he had faced broken backbone. Similarly, women officers have also conducted circumnavigation. Navika Sagar Parikrama done on INS Tarini. Similarly, recently concluded Navika Sagar Parikrama second was done by 2 women officers of Navy on the yacht known as INSV Tarini. And Samudra Pradakshina adds tri-service all-women dimension. That is a new milestone in India's maritime history. So this is the importance of this. Understood? Now, what is the correct sequence of following ports as one proceeds from east to west? Sorry, east to west. You have to arrange these ports from east to west quickly. जल्दी जल्दी आंसर दो सब. Well, let us see where these are located. This is located in South Africa, Port Stanley in Falkland Island, Fremantle in Australia, and Littleton in New Zealand. So, which of these following countries are most located towards east? New Zealand, right? So, 4. Then you move westward, that is Australia. So, 3. Then you move westward, that is South Africa, 1. And then Port Stanley, which is near to the coast of South America, so 2. So answer correctly is 4, 3, 1, 2. Option D is your right answer. Yes, all of you are right. So this is how you solve a question. You try to relocate their countries and then try to imagine which country is located where. And जब भी question आता है ना, please emphasize which orientation it is asking you to answer. Similarly, अगर ये west to east होता तो opposite हो जाता. Okay. Now, the prices of all the courses on our StudyIQ, how many times have I told you? It is going to increase from tomorrow onwards, that is from midnight. So, if you're wanting to take admissions in any of the courses, today is the best time, right? There can't be anything more I can say on this, okay? Please feel free. If you want any help in deciding which optional is best for you, you can obviously contact the number 9240231070 must be flashing on the bottom half of your screen. Contact that number, the counselors would help you out. Please do not forget to let them know to use this code, because this code helps you get 7,000 rupees off, which is a lot of money, right? Imagine what you can do with 7,000 rupees. Now moving to this third article, this article is on the explained section. This says why NASA says we may be closest ever to discovering the life on Mars. Now let us start this article by understanding the context. US's space agency NASA, National Aeronautics and Space Administration, has founded the strongest sign yet of existence of life on Earth. Is it a definitive sign? Is it a conclusive sign? We'll find out. Now, at the press conference which was hosted recently, NASA said that the Mars rover Perseverance, which has been roaming around the surface of red planet Mars from February 2021, has picked up a potential biosignatures in a rock sample that was scanned last year. Now, Perseverance is a rover. You might see the images of Perseverance, it might appear very small to you, but in reality, Perseverance is a small size of a small car. And imagine the technological heft of US, they have sent this kind of a technology to a planet so far away from Earth, right? Has India deployed a rover in Mars? Please let me know. What was the name of India's mission to Mars? Please let me know also. Now, this announcement of American Space Agency NASA has triggered obviously excitement among the scientific community about the possibility of extraterrestrial life. But on the other hand, many of the other scientists are very critical in nature. So many of the scientists, they've also highlighted that you don't need to get happy so quickly, because the studies needs to be carried out further before we are going to come to a definitive conclusion whether there is or there was a life on Mars, right? So this has been the context. I've made you aware straight away. You must have heard the term that I used here, potential biosignatures. So then you must be thinking, what is a biosignature? Let me tell you what is a biosignature. It refers to an object or structure that may have biological origin. That any object that is thought to have been created by living organism is called as biostructure or biosignature. Now, biosignature can be created by living beings, but there are instances where similar compounds have also been created by non-living objects. So, in order to find life, we have to first identify biosignatures. If there is a biosignature, then we can say life might be there. But if there is no biosignature, it would definitely tell us that life would not have been there. Okay. So, biosignatures, if it is found, it may be life might be there. But if no biosignature is found, life definitely is not there. Now, last year, the six-wheel rover, that is the Perseverance, which is the size of a small size car, it identified a rock which was later named as Cheawa Falls, and it was found on the designated route of the rover. Now, what happened that it found that rock and it sent the data which was collected by the rover back to the scientists on Earth in NASA's laboratories. And based on the data that was sent by the rover, the scientists identified that there are certain chemicals and structures present on the rock that might be giving an idea of biosignatures. And this analysis was done first of all by the onboard instruments of Perseverance, that the rock sample, it composed of clay and silt. Similarly, it also composed of many other chemical compounds which were organic carbon, sulfur oxide, iron, that is basically rust, as well as phosphorus. Now, on Earth, you need to understand clay and silt, they are excellent preservers of the past microbial life. So, you can say if there is a clay and silt, it could have preserved life, which if they would have been possible on Mars. Similarly, you also need to understand the structures that suggest electron transfer reactions, that is the transfer between sediments and organic matter. It is very essential. Now, first of all, this presence of organic matter, it might indicate that there was a microbial activity going on, which is an example of energy metabolism. But you also need to understand this electron transfer reaction or sediment to organic matter reaction can also happen because of abiotic processes which happens without the existence of life. That is why I told you, if you found biostimulants or biostructures, biosignatures, it means that there might be life. There is no definitive conclusion that there is life. While it is exciting, the finding does not settle the question whether the life was possible or is possible on Mars or not. But this particular structure or chemical composition has aroused interest in the scientific community that could have been generated using even the non-biological process. Understood? So, what are biosignatures? Clear? Now, what will be the future steps? Now, Perseverance has collected more than 30 samples of rock which originally wants to be brought back to Earth. So, NASA has a program known as a Mars Sample Return Mission, where NASA wants to bring all the rocks that has been collected by rovers such as Perseverance back on Earth. But this mission of NASA is facing budgetary crisis. Why? Any idea? Because of a person called as Donald Trump. So, he is trying to reduce the budgetary support given to NASA, and that is why NASA is unable to bring those rocks back to Earth. So, we might have to wait some more time before we are getting a definitive conclusion on this. Now, let's see how many of you are able to solve this practice question. Biosignatures are a definitive proof of the past or present life on a planetary body. Is it true? Is the first statement true? On the Mars, the detection of organic carbon, sulfur, oxidized iron and phosphorus in rocks may point towards potential biosignatures. This is correct. But is first statement correct? Anyone? Is it a definitive proof? It is an indicative proof, not a definitive proof, right? So first statement is incorrect, second one is right, option B is your right answer. Yes, correct. All of you are right. Kanchan, Journal, Jui, Arya, Gagan, Yashi. You guys are giving more attention to the class today, or am I teaching so well today that you're getting all the answers right? Please let me know. Moving to this next article, this appeared in the economy section. It talks about red flags on the algorithms of social media, and the panel of parliament, which is the committee on IT, it has recommended certain stricter penalties on social media. How many of you are active on social media? Let me know. Quickly. Now, if you like social media or if you hate social media like me, you can agree on one thing, that there has been a surge in the amount of fake news and misinformation that is spread all across the social media, including WhatsApp. How many instances have you seen your parents coming to tell you certain important news event which you later find out has been a complete misinformation or a fake news, right? So this is a persisting problem with the onset of social media. Now, Parliamentary Standing Committee on Communications and IT, which is headed by a famous MP of BJP, they are preparing recommendations, and before finalizing their recommendation, they are interacting with other major ministries of Union Government, that is Ministry of IT and Electronics, Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, and Ministry of External Affairs. Why is there a role of Ministry of External Affairs here? I'll tell you. Now, the concerns that is been highlighted with the use of social media, we need to understand this. This is very important. First, you need to understand how social media websites make money. How do you think they make money? Any idea? Yes, WhatsApp University. How many of you know how social media websites make money? Any idea? Ads. And how do they make ads? Using our content only, right? Through promotion. So the revenue model of social media is driven on how many posts are done on social media. More the post, more is the chance of social media company making money. So obviously their algorithms, their every business model is oriented towards sensationalizing emotionally charged content, which drives more and more people to log in on social media, and this drives engagement, and their algorithms are like that: more is your sensational content, more emotionally driven is your content, more it will be highlighted in the social media. So their algorithms, they significantly influence virality. So it is okay. If they influence virality, it is okay. But sometimes these algorithms even prioritize misleading content that might have gone viral. So this actually is a very dangerous thing to Indian society. Similarly, to deal with the fake news problem, earlier the government of India wanted all the social media websites, Twitter, now called as X, Instagram, Facebook, etc., to curb on the amount of misinformation on their platform. So these companies think that they are very smart. They came up with a solution known as AI detection of fake news. But you need to understand, the AI detection of fake news is not 100% accurate. It can be helpful but not foolproof. Similarly, it also struggles with hybrid content. What if you mix real and fake events? There would be very difficult. It would be very difficult for AI tool to identify hybrid content. Similarly, these AI contents have given poor performance when it comes to low resource regional languages identification. Now, for any AI tool to work, you need to supply it with large amount of data, right? Similarly, the data that is present for local Indian languages is very less. For example, if you're communicating in English and Hindi, the content on social media is very high. So they have sufficient amount of data. But when it comes to smaller languages where only a handful, lakhs and crores of people speak those languages, the amount of sample size is very less. So essentially what you need is a human review of all the fake news. But to cut the cost down, the social media companies are relying less on humans, more on technology, which has created an avenues for fact checking, but this is not 100% accurate. Now, what is the legal and judicial angle? First, you need to understand Ministry of IT earlier issued a notification under IT rules which provided for a body known as PIB Fact Check Unit. Any idea what is a PIB Fact Check Unit? Any idea what is a PIB Fact Check Unit? How many of you have seen PIB Fact Check on social media websites? Well, there has been a different department which has been created in PIB, which basically fact checks the information that is there in the media. If it is true, it will highlight that this is a verified information. If it is false, it will highlight that this is a fake news. Now, the problem with this PIB fact check unit is that the ministry has given it a statutory power, which means if any content which will be flagged as fake content by PIB, it is legally mandated on the social media websites to take that content off of their platforms. Otherwise, the social harbor or the safe harbor provision that are provided to these social media companies would be taken away from it. No, that is not PIB Fact Check Unit. PIB Fact Check Unit is Press Information Bureau Fact Check Unit. कहाँ चला गया ऋषि? हम लोग क्या डिस्कस कर रहे हैं? Now, PIB, Press Information Bureau, has a fact check unit which fact checks the information on the social media or in the internet. The problem is that it has been given a statutory power. So, whenever a body has been given statutory power, and if that PIB fact check unit labels any news as fake news, the social media company would be legally liable to take off that content. Or otherwise, if they don't, they will lose out on their safe harbor provisions. Safe harbor provision is a provision that has been given to social media companies that for a user generated post, like suppose if I post something on Twitter or if you post something on Instagram, and if it is a fake news, it is a matter between me and the government. The social media company, Twitter or Instagram, is not liable for any content posted by third parties like you and I. This is called a safe harbor provision, but the government started threatening them. It said that if you don't comply to our orders, we'll take back your safe harbor provision and you will also be criminally liable for spreading the fake news. So this was the legal and judicial angle. Now, this created a lot of controversy, obviously. Why? Because first of all, India is a democratic country and you can't rely on one body, be it government or be it private, on solely providing you what is a fake news and what is not. So this gives government a unilateral power to decide what is fake news, and this also provides, or this raises a possibility of risk of censorship, and it might also enable the government to curb your freedom of speech and expression, which is a fundamental right under Article 19. Similarly, there was no independent oversight of PIB fact check unit, and if your content has been labeled as fake news, you did not have another judicial recourse to get your labeled content as not a fake news. So this was the problem, and that is why Bombay High Court struck down this notification which gave FCU the statutory power. Okay. Now, what are the recommendations that have been given by Parliamentary Panel on regulating social media? These are likely recommendations. This might change. Whenever this will change, I will let you know. No need to worry. Let us understand what are sort of recommendations they are trying to give. First is the imposition of strict fines and penalties of social media platforms if they actually amplify fake news. Similarly, there is also a need, or there is also a feeling that you need to revisit the safe harbor provisions, because of the safe harbor provisions, the social media companies have taken their hands off in dealing with fake news because they are not criminally liable, and you need to make them also responsible in order to curb the fake news. Similarly, you also need inter-ministerial task force to curb whenever misinformation has been spread from across India's border. Now, what happened during Operation Sindoor? What happened during Balakot bombing? What happened during Pahalgam terrorist attack? We saw significant amount of Pakistani users, they spread fake news in India just to discourage the Indian people, right? So this is a problem that might emerge not just from within India but from other countries, and this is where you need ministries like Ministry of External Affairs, right? So that is why these ministries also been consulted by the Parliamentary Panel, how they want to tackle the misinformation that originates into India from other countries, right? Similarly, it is also needed to explore mandatory label of AI generated content, because first of all, whenever there will be a AI generated content, if you know it just by the label of it, you will be apprehensive towards that content. And you also need to establish a legal definition of fake news so that there is no inconsistency, there is no subjectivity of what is fake news and what is not safe news, right? So this is very essential, and these have been recommended by parliamentary panel. Now, what is the broader significance of this move? I told you, first of all, you need to empower your citizen, giving them opportunities to exercise their freedom of right and expression. But in other hand, you also need to prevent the misuse of this right. What if I'm given the right of freedom of speech and expression, but I misuse it by spreading fake news? This would be detrimental to the larger interest of the country and society, right? So that is why social media aids in governance, but it also spreads anti-India narratives, and this anti-India narratives is very detrimental to our India's national security. Similarly, we also need to balance free speech, that is a part of Article 19 of the Constitution, with misinformation regulation, that is the reasonable restrictions given to the government under the Article 19. Similarly, also need to strengthen cyber security, information integrity, and ensure democratic process. Any idea how it discourages democratic process? Suppose there is an election and someone says that the government has actually indulged in malpractices of the election. Don't you think it would erode the confidence of public, of the confidence of voters on the India's democracy? So this should be prevented, and this is what is the broader significance of this mission. Now solve this question. You know, for the past half an hour, my phone has been vibrating just because of the message. I don't know मुझे कौन याद कर रहा है. तुम लोग में से कोई याद कर रहे हो क्या? Yes, option C. This one. This is not an absolute right, rather it is a qualified right, right? Reasonable restrictions that I have told you. Any idea what constitutes reasonable restrictions? We have covered this, reasonable restrictions. What constitutes reasonable restriction? In what grounds can I impose curbs on freedom of speech and expression? I want to see how many of you revise. और बच्चा लोग go and hit the like button. In Bihar they say, hey, ladka log, like this only, right? Yes, whenever there is a threat on national security, on communal harmony, on public health, we can impose reasonable restrictions. Yes. Another question. Yes, very good, Gagan. Public order, decency, friendly relations with other countries, public order, right. Gaurav Rana, good. गौरव राणा राउस के स्टूडेंट हो ना, दिख रहा है. सो आज नई बात पता चली ना, पीआईबी फैक्ट चेक यूनिट. How many of you enjoy these sessions? Raise your hand. Yes, yes, all of you are right. Yashi, Kanchan, Sarang, Benzir and Mamim, Rishi, Santwana, Jui, Arya, Gaurav, all of you are right. Good, good that you're enjoying the session. So why don't you hit the like button if you're enjoying the session or not? William Khumman, how are you? Are you from Manipur? Yes, yes, I will keep it continuing. No need to worry. There might be a break next week because I've told you, right, that there is a work renovation going on in my house. So I also need to check on that also. So that is why I took off for the first 2 days in this week also. Now let us move to this article. It talks about Infosys approving an 18,000 crore share buyback proposal. So what is share buyback proposal and why are we dealing with a matter which deals with a public company or a private company? The reason is the questions on the financial market, share market, etc. they've been increasing in the UPSC exam. So we need to understand all of this kind of an article whenever it appears in the news. So we are not going to cover what is Infosys, we are going to cover what is a share buyback, right? And why is Infosys buying back its share? Now the Infosys board has approved buying back of equity shares once worth 18,000 crore rupees, which is the biggest ever buyback by the Infosys company, and this buyback will be at 19% premium on the current prices. So suppose if I am the existing shareholder of Infosys, Infosys will pay me extra 19% from the prevailing market rates just to buy back the shares from me. So you need to understand, if I am an investor of Infosys, I will make at least how much profit? 19% profit. Similarly, the shares that will be brought back by Infosys would represent 2.41% of total equity shares that the Infosys has made public, right? So Infosys, any company, ownership is 100%. So there are some amount of shares that the company makes public. So suppose if a company is worth 100 crore rupees and if it issues 10% worth of shares, that means 10 crore worth of ownership of the company is with the public. Therefore, it is going to reduce the amount of shares in public by buying back the shares. That is, the company itself is buying back the shares. Now, what is the concept of share buyback? A buyback or the repurchase of the share by a company is when the company purchases its own share from the existing shareholder. So what it does, it reduces the supply of shares in the market, and whenever a supply of any commodity reduces, what do you think would happen? Any idea? In economics, whenever demand increases, whenever supply reduces, what happens to the price? बताओ प्राइस पे क्या इंपैक्ट आता है? The price of that product increases, right? So this is what Infosys wants to do, that if existing shareholders, they don't sell the shares to Infosys, then even then the prices of shares of Infosys would increase. Why? The supply of shares in the market have reduced, right? So this would increase the earning per share of the investors or the shareholders of Influence. Now this process is completely legal and regulated under Section 68 of Companies Act and also by SEBI regulations, okay? Now, what happens or why do company buy back their shares? First of all, buyback reduces the number of outstanding shares, and I've told you the supply of shares reduces, and this pushes up the prices of the shares. And when prices of any shares increases, it gives a signal of confidence to the investors that the company will do good. And this is very critical whenever the stocks of the company is falling. Now you need to understand, because of Donald Trump policies, the stocks of IT companies have fallen down, including Infosys. So Infosys wants to buy back these shares to increase the prices, which would send a signal to the investors that going forward, the prices of the shares of Infosys would not fall, right? So this signals to the market that the stocks is available at cheap right now, which means undervalued. Buy it today because you'd get a higher return tomorrow. And this also shows confidence in the company's fundamental and future growth. Similarly, it also helps company to return back the excess cash to its shareholders. Now, company has a large amount of money at its disposal, especially when a company like Infosys who makes a huge amount of profit. It is estimated that Infosys has a cash reserve of somewhere between 25,000 crore. Now, in current geopolitical climate, it is not very smart of any company to invest in outside market. So that is why another option to reward its shareholder is that we can give some money back by process of buyback of shares, right? Also, there are other methods of giving profits to the shareholders. This is called as dividend. But dividend is something which is announced periodically. So if you give this profit as dividend, don't you think the shareholders would expect higher dividend next year also? So company saying we are not giving you dividend, we are coming with a one-time solution. Give us your shares and we'll give you higher amount of money, that is 19% premium. Also, it helps companies to prevent hostile takeovers. Not very significant for Infosys, but smaller companies do that. Suppose if you're a big investor, you start buying small amount of shares in the market, and going forward, there is also a possibility that you will hold a significant amount of shares in the company, and then you will become a major part investor of the company, which might even allow you to take over that company. So this is how it also prevents hostile takeover. Understood? Any doubts in buyback of shares? समझ में आ गया क्यों होता है, कैसे होता है? No doubt. Now it is 11:56. This is an article which would take time. So what I do, I'd record this article separately and get it uploaded today. Okay, this is a very good article, and also there are relevant questions that have appeared on remotely similar topics, that concept of Ramanuja. So going forward, there might also be a question on what ideas or what principles did Swami Vivekananda propound, right? So we'll find out exactly this in a separate video, which I'll get it uploaded today, and you can download the notes on the channel ATS Live, okay? So I'll let you know when the video gets uploaded, and I'll again see you tomorrow at 11 AM sharp. Please have a very good day.